Hey guys, how you doing? 1 second. There we go. Sometimes I get speaker hair. I gotta every once in a while just push my hair back down. Okay, let's go over. We're back. I'm back, and so we're gonna get right back into our training of the London system. So D4, D6, knight F, C5. This is the Grunfeld versus the London system, or the London system versus the Grunfeld. And then they're saying that he looked, and at the time when the author was doing this, there was no games that actually went to this, but there is actually a game that does go to it. And the game is that wins for white is this one here. Oops. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. This is a game that was played, and it went B, C4, knight C. Let me see if our line is very similar to that. B, C. So C4. Let's see. Does he actually? Okay, he goes bishop F, C1. White still wins in this line. This is actually from. It's not the game, but I wanted to show you a move that white played. You can even play slightly passive and still win. If you play correctly, you can still win this. So we're just going through it real quick. This is actually a game. And so he's up a whole piece but if you notice, black has 3 passers, but it's not good enough for a piece in this setup because white could just barricade it. Because he's going after, you see what he's doing? He's going after the yeah, just be really careful. You have to get your king close enough to stop this pawn. And white won here because there wasn't enough compensation for the sacrifice. So you always got to remember compensation. Okay, that's kind of what this. And then if A takes B, they're saying C is kind of dubious, and then F. And of course, the only move you could do is C2. So you really don't want to put yourself in that predicament. If you ever get tied up like this here, you just gotta just say takes, and then you can go E4, D takes E4, G5, because now you're double attacking the pawn. Knight D5, bishop retreats back, so it's attacking E. Knight takes pawn, and at this point, the author says that you shouldn't worry about. Let me see, where am I? G5. Okay, gotcha. He says interesting, but I doubt that black has an extra piece to basically to give this up, this pawn up here. It looks like he can do something, but these two doubled isolated pawns aren't the most beautiful on the pieces on the board, and I mean pawns on the board, and so it's going to be a problem, that black does have the open A file, but that can easily be shut off with A3, and white has a better pawn structure. And I know what you're thinking, what if he takes here? You can always just take with the bishop. Just take with the bishop. And there's nothing that really black can do, and these two pawns end up becoming liabilities in the end road, as you would say. But there is a besides e4, there is a3. This is an interesting line. It's more of a I don't want to say passive, but more you know, if you're wanting to be concrete, you don't want any threats. And you don't want any chance of, you know, tactics coming down and smacking you and hurting you. This is a good setup right here. And see that he's just developing, and you're stopping. So then he takes e4, e6, castles, e, and then this is very. It looks like black has some advantage, but like the author says that he prefers white here because of white's play in the center. He's got more play in the center, and it's going to be a lot harder for the pieces to come out for black, because white has two knights, so white's going to want to lock down the position and play with his knights around the board, get him in, like something like that, and then in, you know, something similar to that. There's also in line that if rather than there's e6, remember we talked about if he takes here, what happens? You play there. But there's also another line if he pushes e6. It's not the best line. He go e5, exclaim. Because remember we talked about this last time, that this is a favorable French defense for white, because there's no way to get at the base pawn at b3, or sorry, b2. And so this is a really, now white can play on the king side all day long, and black is deprived of space. See how much space that white has. I'll show you. This he can't land, I understand, on these pieces here and here and here and here, but I'm just showing you how much area of the board that white has to play. This much, all this here, and black is deprived of all that space, everything. So you have to, like, there's I think it's Aaron Nijovic, if I'm not mistaken, is it, I forgot the gentleman that the grandmaster that said where your pawns are pointing or is where your you want to attack. So all of white's pawns are pointing towards the king side, so you want to attack on the king side. That's why e5 gets an exclam. d7, ace 3, b5, rook c1, knight b2, same idea. And then there's not enough compensation, he says, in this position here. I don't see a way that for black to progress on the queen side either. Black really has a basically fishy position, he says. And if he wants to try to sack on b2 right here, and like I'll show you, this is kind of what they're saying. If he wants to sack like that, there's really not enough compensation for this here. Yes, he got, you know, he has an open file, and if he checks, we can actually at this point just move up if we ever had to. Not enough compensation though. So that's kind of what he was talking about. If he sacks here, you take there, and then he takes here, there's really nothing. So BG, that's why he just develops bishop e2, castles, and then c4. There's three other ways of handling this too. If you're wondering, this takes is one. There's b6, queen b6. There's b3, and there's h5. And these are kind of like the cat-8 moves. So you have c takes, b6, queen b6, queen b6. Or no, sorry, queen b6, b6, and then knight to h5. These are the ideas. And what he's also saying here, if you take this way here, the only way to recapture if white is playing for the win, this is right here. This is the only way to recapture right here. This is the only way to recapture if white's playing for the win. If white plays c takes d, the problem is this allows black to easily equalize because of where the knight's placed. The knight would love to be back on b1 and then implant itself on c3, knight to c3, but it can't, and this just leaves open the position for infiltration on the queen side. And also remember, unless white's only compensation would be to have a pawn here and a pawn there. There's no way to do that, so this is an equal position. So the only way to take advantage is actually to take towards you want to take e takes d4. That's the only way to take advantage of that. Yikes! What in the world? Yikes! Sorry about that, guys. That was weird. Now he's doing knight takes, knight to h5. Well, he said this. Well, you already know that I think about this. We already know what we think about this. This is kind of it's an interesting move, but it's not really relevant because you can actually just kick back, move your bishop to e3, and say, what was that? Now you have the ability of going c4, b4, and a4 with a queenside expansion because your bishop now guards and your knight guards twice. So it's covered. There's also, let me see here. This was played in the game, but Bronstein played against Keelands, and the move was queen to c7, e, rook. It's actually a crazy position, he says. B, knight f6, f4, bishop f5, and then he kind of played this move here, and he says, I don't really understand what black, and this is what the author says, he looked at it, didn't understand what black's idea was with this move here. There really is no point. Why move here and then there? It doesn't make any practical sense. Why not try to get maybe a pawn push going or something? So h3 was played, bishop d7, queen c1, rook f, e8, and then bishop to h6. This bishop to c1 idea is so that we can trade off the protectorate of black on g7. That's the only way to get that the pressure taken off, is if we can trade the bishop off and get our queen here. We're going to be doing pretty darn tootin' good. So to keep the bishop, you have to go bishop h8, bishop f1 to kind of get out of the attack. Rook a d8, and then knight c5. And Kellen played, actually I think Bronstein played this move, which was kind of very passive. and it continues on with just b5. Kellen played f5 and Bronstein played b4, which is dubious. They're saying that best play would kind of have been, you're gonna have to go a little wild here and play knight to g4. Think outside the box. e5, or e4, knight takes e4, d takes e4, rook takes e4, and you gotta be okay with the attack on the thing. Bishop, boom, because you gotta love this attack. The bishop was able to retreat back with a tempo. So when the queen moved, we just dropped right back. h5, which is trying to put a little pressure on the king, but what really does this do now? This only helps open up the position for white. So g5, knight d7, or d5, sorry, and bishop g3. And this is what the author says. Black has only, he calls it fishy compensation. I call it limited compensation for the pawns. So black's actually down a whole pawn. And black doesn't really have any compensation for that. And yes, he has knights in the center, but what can they attack, really? This is covered, so the only square really that black can go for the knight is there, and the only square that this knight can go to is back here. So white's just playing up a pawn, and with a very solidified position, it should go on to, in my opinion, go on to win if with proper play. One sec, gotta get a drink of water, guys, and then we'll get right back in this. Now I'm flashing back to move 10, so it's gonna look kind of like whoop. Okay, there we go. This is what was played, and so it's played as queen to b6, rook e1, then f5. He's saying black spoils for a fight against his higher rated grandmaster opponent, and black's even willing to create a self-inflicted wound to his own structure in exchange for the right to push white around a bit. I can tell you from my experiences that a seasoned Londoner loves facing such hyper play. So he's saying when this is played here, a seasoned London player, which was what we are, loves this type of play. I'm going to repeat it again, loves this type of play, because it's like he's willing to basically open a door in the castle for us to kind of send maybe one or two troops around. We find the kind of like the secret door of the thing, like on Aragon and Lord of the Rings, when Aragon and Gimli went on the side door of Helm's Deep, and he said, I can't make the jump. Toss me. Because he says, don't tell the elf, though. I love that part. And so he tosses him over, and the Orcs the Iroquois get really tromped around for a while, and that's kind of what white is going to be doing to black. It looks like an Uruk attack on our gate, but in reality we're tossing a Gimli and we're having Aragon jump across to hold the front line. So we move because we know what his next move is. Duh, f4. He's trying to trap our bishop. And it's like, really now this is a true weakness. It's like, what did you do? This isn't even protected by a pawn, and this knight is ugly on h5. Really? The queen really now is blocked? What is this? You get to push us around. I get to move my knight to b3. I get to put it on a better square. You know, you should almost thank your opponent for this, saying, thank you very much. sir, or madam, whoever you're facing. That's a little humor. You don't really think your opponent. You just you play strategically and win. Doesn't matter who it is. When they play hyper like this, you throw it right back at them. It's like in the science fiction movies, when those superheroes block the beam, and then it's like, uh-oh, and they send it right back at them. That's what we're gonna do. He wants to play hyper. We're gonna play strong and solid, and we're gonna send that beam of power right back at him. So knight to f6. He's gonna have to get his knight back into the fray, and then c4. Boom! It's like kabam! It's like when one of those glowing balls gets hit right back at the opponent, and it glows for a while. It's like wham! That's kind of like that. It was really yeah. It was a shell shock, let's just say, because he can't take. Of course, you see what happens if he takes here. The bishop takes, and it's like I just opened up a bunch of pain and more pain. So he just moves his king, and then realizes, oh no, I have a weakness here. What am I gonna do? Well, shouldn't have pushed your pawns. That pawn wasn't a very wise decision to push. Let's see here, 14. Let's see, what did I play? Okay, c4. Yeah, this is a, okay, sorry, I have to read you what my notes are. A very serious meeting a wing attack with a center counterattack. When I suggest a move like this in the London, people who love the London system, they say they give me a speech like, if I want an isolated pawn, I would play the Queen's Gambit Tarrasch as black. He says that's what they would say. True, but this is a very good reverse Tarrasch system set up for white. So if we were playing the Tarrasch, this is a really good one for white, because what you're doing is you're setting up. This is almost like an exchange French / Tarrasch variation, and what you're doing is basically giving yourself a slight weakness as well with an isolated pawn. Like if he takes here, I'll just show you, and you take back, you have this isolated pawn, but your pawn takes away a massive amount of space in the center. So what you're going to want to do is avoid trading off pieces at all costs, unless you get a tactic and win something. Of course, then you want to do that. But this is going to be an isolated pawn for white, so you're going to want to put pieces on it. You're going to want to play around it. You're going to want to kind of maybe win this pawn and try to make a pass pawn. But you are going to get an isolated pawn in this setup. And then c1. So now you see what we're doing? We're preparing. And then rook b8. He says that, this is what he says, that there's a potential idea as well. If you don't want to, black doesn't want to play rook to b8, you could play rook bishop to f5, kind of develop, and then knight c5 is slam, because you're going after this pawn, and you're playing around for, if he takes here, you then potentially could have an outpost there. There's some play, like takes, bishop takes, and then knight comes in, and it's protected by a bishop and a rook. So b6 was played, and knight d2, d3 says that this b6 move helped actually white get his knight to a more superior position. This is actually what white wants, because he can always implant his knight to e5 and reconnect the pawns later on if there's a trade. So this is actually what white wants in the London. Okay, I'm going to go back. It's going to go whoop, and so just get ready. There we go. Now this is what was played: b8, a5, exclam, a positional idea where white either removes the c6 knight, a defender of e5. So what we're talking about is this knight e5 pawn spot. So if we can like takes, we can implant a knight on e5 outpost. And R improves his own knight to, if he takes here, you can improve your knight to c4, and you're winning your position's stellar at that point. So either way, you're a winner. So g4, c takes d5. Now it's time to take. Knight takes d5, and then knight c4. Now our knight's at a good spot. Queen d8, and now if you notice, black's pieces are starting to become more passive. The queen's back on the back rank, dividing up the connection of his rooks, and so that now white's going to start turning on the pressure. And if the knight ever took here, we would actually just take back with the pawn, and now we have our pawns are connected here. There's really no way to get at this a pawn, so we're good. Bishop c, b4, we take, because he's trying to eye the a2 pawn, of course, you guys see that. So we take, then queen d2. Let's see, queen d2, then d5. There's a mistake though. Oops, what in the world? How did I get a... That's the wrong move, sorry guys. It's actually a double question. I don't know how I got interesting there. That's weird. This is actually a losing move here. Oh, wait a second. It is, sorry. It wasn't a double. It is a dubious move. That's right. Because this lands black in a big amount of problem with knight to rook a1. Because where does the knight go now? It won a pawn, but it's now trapped. So the knight has to go to d5, retreats out, and now we're moving our pieces to their optimum placement for white. Bishop e6, g5. Now we're attacking the bishop. If we can win a bishop pair, or get rid of the bishop pair, we're safe. It's a safer position around our isolated pawn. So g, and then he plays the sad move. Queen, bishop g4. What does that have to do with the position? Nothing. The proper move would have been to have played. Let me see here. Where am I? So we're on 24. I have to make sure I get to 24. Right here. Okay. And he overlooked the tactic. This actually right here, rook e d1, takes away this tactic idea here, and you'll get to see the tactic. This would have stopped the tactic that's coming to pass. It was overlooked. This is the tactic. Knight knight e3. So if we had a rook, rather than this, if we did rook e1, knight e3 doesn't work. Because if we takes, there's, and let's say we take back here, now the knight's protected and he's just down a whole piece. So that's why this move here is important. It doesn't allow the knight to e3 trick, and you'll see why. But he does play properly queen to e2. Yeah. So this is if you take here, he takes, and there's a pin, so you can't take back. Otherwise, bye queen. So this black stands better here. This right here attacks the knight, protects the bishop. Knight f5, and if he takes here, it's dubious because he basically traded off one of his best pieces. So takes, pawn takes. Now there's no more doubled pawns. So d2, and now our knight comes back, protection. He takes, we bring our rook up to the 7th. The queen on the 7th really doesn't do much. Queen takes, we take, F. And then now if he takes here with on D7, we could play queen takes D7. Also, I know what you're saying, wait a second, doesn't black have 2 connected passers? Yes, but white's E5 pawn is much more advanced and a faster, queen faster than black's 2 connected pawns. So I'm going to go back, it's going to go whoop on the board, so just be prepared. So F5 exclaims, because he doesn't want to set up for that. Rook C D1, and then let me see, queen to D5. There's also, if he plays he gets greedy, this will happen right here. D5 knight, and this cuts the bishop out. And when the bishop takes, we play B5, and the bishop's going to fall for two pieces. The bishop will fall. Because what happens is if he pushes this pawn, you say, well, can he push? If he does, he's going to lose a rook. Because he can't take back here, otherwise, wham, he loses a piece. So that's why B6 doesn't work, or E6 doesn't work. Okay, I'm going back to that position, so be ready. All right. Queen D5, Queen D3, exclaim, because now we're putting the pressure, and if he takes here, we could actually come up with our rook and grab the bishop. It's bishop H6 to attack the knight. The knight retreats back. Rook BD2, and then if white gets a little greedy, or black gets a little greedy, we just land a nice fork on the 2 rooks, and we got him. So he can't be greedy. And now white finally guards his pawn, because it now can be taken by black securely, and white would lose it. So A3 is the move white has to take a second and do that. Bishop G7. Now this is a threat. It's kind of not fun to parry. This did I forget to put an exclam on H5? I did on H4. Sorry, guys. There we go. Black will have to worry about H5 being played. So Queen B3 to try to trade off, and right now, one sec, gotta get a drink of water. Hold on, I'm gonna I'll just get just one sec. Much better. Sometimes my throat gets dry. Okay, with B3, white's trying to play. He wants to trade off so the bishop can come in. And remember, we have an isolated pawn. So the more pieces that come off the board, the better chance black has of winning the pawn. So we got to keep our pieces on the board, especially when we're attacking. We want to do a right, a left, uppercut, and then finally the finishing hook, and we knock our opponent's king out for good with checkmate. Okay, so he moves up. He's going to try to double. Rook C1. Okay, and then knight H6, which is a dubious move. They're saying best would actually have been to, his best shot would have been taking, and B6, Queen B2, giving this back, because you can't keep it. There's no way to keep it. Takes there, and knight D7 with a idea of a fork. So he's going to have to give back. He's going to have to give one of the rooks up, and he does. F3, and then G3, and at this point it says black didn't get compensation, but I like the position better than what actually originates in the game. That's what the author says. So I'm going to be going back. This is going to kind of be like a womp on the screen, so just be ready. There we go. So a dubious move, we just retreat back. That was a mistake, because then now we are able to get this queen's almost trapped, and there's no more takes, and we can now relocate our knight if we ever had to. Knight g5, which is interesting. H takes g, c takes, rook takes the pawn, and then b5 is played. They're saying that if a6 gets played, we have queen to e1, and what really can black do here? There's really nothing. The threat is to take and then bring your queen up and your bishop up and your knight. So we have a threat of taking here, threat of taking here, and we just have so many white so active. So I'm gonna do this thing. It's gonna go back. There we go. So b5, rook takes a2, and rook d d2 or d8, and rook e1, and rook e7. And black decided to cash in his cards and kind of go home and resign. And what they said, black has no compensation for the missing pawn. So there's no compensation for anything. Black's position's wrecked, and especially when he's facing a grandmaster, he just resigns. So this is the sum of the thing. If here we're going to go back. The author says that if h5 is ours, here we got to do this first. Where's f? F we don't. Okay, if f4, where's f5? If f5 is, no, I apologize, just give me a second, I gotta get to h5. When he plays h after the trade of the pawns, and you take back this, when black plays knight to h5, you retreat your bishop to e3, and then when he plays f5, you just move your knight. That's what he says. And then when he overextends, you just retreat your bishop back. He says when black gets comfortable with his knight from f6 to h5 and his pawn that goes to f5, don't rule out the counterpoint. When they're attacking on the wing, the author says you attack in the center. So never rule out this. Never rule out c4, even though it's kind of like, why do I want an isolated pawn? The position, most London players hate having an isolated pawn. So fight this bias. That's what basically he's saying, and be bold and take on the isolated pawn. Take on at the right moment. Take this pawn here. Set up the position, and he's saying don't be worried about what others say in the London system. If you know it's a good move, play it. And so if it favors you, go for it. And you got to see how white was able, this one lone soldier here on d4 allowed white to basically dance around the entire board and put pieces protected by it and everything. And White was able to win because he had an isolated pawn. So don't be afraid of isolated pawns. Okay, let's get into puzzles, and that was the sum of it. Okay, let's get into our puzzles now. Let's start beefing up our rating to 2600 now. Let's get to 26 so we can put on the title Onward to 2700. So we're not going to move till we see it. If you guys have any ideas, be more than happy for you to put in there. We'll go over them. Let's see, I'm trying to see if I can't get a rook here. Get the knight there and there. Like maybe play a knight check here on b6. And if the king moves over here, if the king, sorry, if we come here, king moves there, we take with that, takes there, we push the pawn, and when the rook takes, we then drop a check, a fork. So I'll write in what I'm thinking. Knight b5, b6 check. King moves to e4, or e5. Space rook takes d6 check. King takes d6. A7. Rook takes a7, and then knight c8 check, and then with fork. So what do you guys think? And then if he moves over here, we still have the, even if he moves, if he doesn't go to e5 but goes to c5, if king goes to c5 for black, we still play rook takes d6 again, check, and then king takes d6, a7, rook takes a7, and then knight to c8 check with a fork again, and I'm thinking that's it. I'm just trying to see, is there anything else that he can play? Any checks, any forks, any? No. And that also, this also covers the check here too, so I'm pretty sure that's the move. And then rook takes, and then if king takes, pawn push, then if rook takes, knight, and up there, and we pick off that that'd be the idea there. Let's see here. Went right into a pin, so we have a check, so we got to first look at this move here. Trying to see here if we so if we play queen to g5 check. Let's see, how could we take advantage of that? Because if he goes king to, so if we go here and then he goes king f2 or king f1, we could actually play check. And then if he comes up here, I believe we can castle. No, the king can't castle at that point. Huh. Trying to see, do we have anything else that we could potentially play? Trying to see, do we have anything else we can take advantage of? Because let's say he doesn't go to, let's say we play queen here and he goes over there. Well, I guess we could play f4 at that point. And then when the king moves back, we play check. When the king moves over there, we can actually take the pawn. It's kind of only the move that I see that could be played is queen g5. I really don't see anything else that's playable. Check. Yeah, I'm going queen g5. And now the moment of truth happens. What do we do now? What do we do? Yeah, this is not fun. If we check with the knight on d2 here, the king will come to e2. I don't really see anything better than that. Well, we could play queen h5, but that's really slow. Thinking. I feel like a computer. My brain's like going. Trying to send out a thing, an idea there. Once I gotta get a drink of water. I really don't see any continuation though after knight d2. So, ay. There's if we take and he takes, we have queen to f5. I'm thinking if we play knight there, let's thinking now if we check, the knight can intercept there. So if we check here, king takes, we play, oops. Yeah, we gotta be careful on that. Trying to see if we can get another piece into the fight. Snikes. Oh man. For some reason this is a tough one. Trying to see if bishop there is an idea with a threat to e5, bishop f4, and then queen e5. gotta go bishop. Because let's see if he plays, like we'll say pawn here. If he plays there. Now that is mate, so he's gonna have to intercept with the knight. So he does have to give up the queen. Okay, wow. That was a tough one, guys. We're almost there. Sometimes you gotta trust your instinct on this. Just gonna pull your screen a little further so I can have a little more room there. Hold on. Just a little bit. Right about there. Then I'll pull mine a little further. There we go. Perfect. Okay. I still can see what you guys are doing and saying, but I just need a little bit more room on the monitor. Okay. Trying to see if queen takes d4 doesn't, oops, one second. Queen takes d4. So queen takes. Hey, how you doing? Trying to think here, because there's if oops, yeah, bishop takes, queen takes, queen takes. If he castles, nah. I might play if it's a 10-minute casual. That'd be fun. Let's see. Okay, so takes, queen takes castles, and then we can actually play queen to d5 check. And then when queen takes queen, knight takes queen, we've won a whole piece at that point. We'll give it a shot. Okay. Hold on. I'll pull up another one and then we'll do it. Trying to see, what do I want to play now? Let's see here now. Remember, it's not about pieces, it's about the attack. So you have to keep that in mind. I have to now think, what do I want to attack with here? Just get my king safe. And now there's, if he takes here, that's fine with me. Come on, stay focused. You gotta stay focused here. Snap, what did I miss here? Yeah, I'd have to play there. Remember, don't overestimate. Yes, I'm down, but you have to remember that you can always come back. Let's see here. Okay, I have that to be concerned about a little bit. Just gotta push out. I don't want that to open up. let's see here. Let me see, what do I got? What do I have to play? Okay, now kind of tied down a little bit here. So I'm just gonna have to go for it. Now it's now it's all or none. Yeah, I'll rematch. We'll do one more. One more. We'll try one more. I'll wait till you're ready to play. And we'll work on this puzzle here. We'll try one more game. Come on. You don't want to rematch? Okay. Let's take a look at it. I think there's a point here, so let's go over this. This is a good spot. Let's see. So pushing the pawn here, you'd have to retreat back. Okay, let me see where, we'll start at the beginning to see where I slightly made an inaccurate move, because you know what? You have to remember that you have to learn from everything. So taking, knight takes is right. Okay, and then all right, now we can push. Okay, and if he plays there, you can just retreat your knight back. And if he takes, you take. Okay, if G, you take, rook takes, and then okay. So now I have a bind on the king side. Okay. We'll do one more, but it's not going to be a rated game, so we're going to have to modify. I'm going to do it not a rated, a casual, and we're only going to do. We're not going to do that. I'm going to do that. Wait a second. I don't want a 5-minute one. Hold on. Let's create a game. That's what we'll do. Gotcha. 10-minute casual, 16. Okay, perfect. We'll do 10 minutes casual, 16, 15. Okay. We'll do one of these. Perfect. I'm trying to get this in. Let's see what our opponent plays here. Training off my bishop. Also attacking this pawn here at the same time. So it's a 2-move idea. Kind of thought he might play that. It's kind of funny, we're doing the same thing but on opposite sides of the board. This actually could pick up a, this will pick up a pawn here. Let's see here. You don't have to always just go for the knockout either. I got this guy pushed back. He's only got 4 minutes left. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it's time to trade off. Oh, he resigned. He left. Dislike when they do that. Okay. We'll wait for our opponent's time to run. We got him, though. We got him. Yes. Good job, guys. Okay, we'll do this one puzzle, then I gotta log off. Okay. We may do this puzzle. I gotta see. I have a couple minutes, and if we can't solve it within that time, I have to log off. So, and then we'll pick up here tomorrow and solve the puzzle. Okay, let's see here. I'm thinking that if we play bishop takes pawn, maybe no bishop takes pawn. Oh wow, so he actually played here. So we reconnected. Okay, gotta stay focused, gotta stay focused. I keep a pin on the knight. And he might double up there, then I'll push here. Grabbed another pawn. Okay. Let's just wait till this ends and then we'll do our best to solve that one puzzle. Just gonna stay on this. It's a minute 30. So we're just gonna stay here and wait. If he comes back, then we'll be prepared. Okay, so he's almost ran out of time. Well guys, I want to tell you that sometimes what you do is this. You usually, if you play a player and they want to rematch you, if you don't have time or if you feel tired, then that's the proper thing to do. Otherwise, you should rematch your opponent. You know what I mean? That's the honorable thing to do. You give them another shot because they may be, they may have been just slightly off balance. Yeah, claim victory. Win and run. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, I faced a player who wanted to play. It was a casual game. Sad to say, I made a mistake and I lost. Tried to rematch the player, but the player wouldn't rematch me. I guess the one thing then you have to do is win. So that's all there is to it, right, guys? So we'll finish. We'll do this one, then I gotta log off. Come on, we're so close to 2600. Let's make sure we get this right. Oh, how you doing, Chris? I forgot to say that. How you doing? Oh. Sometimes that's what you need. Yeah. If you're not, if your immune system's down a little bit, so it's the natural way of healing. Rest. Okay, let's see here. So bishop. I was looking at that. I think we can actually still win here. Oops, not. What am I doing? Green is for, and then here, and then there. And if he castles kingside, we then can play our queen up, and he trades off queens, and then we trade. So it'd be bishop takes b7, queen takes b7, queen takes d4. If castle, queen d5, check, queen takes d5, and then knight takes d5. I think that's the move. No, see, he's in a pin right now. His pawn's pinned, and so he can't get. We have a knight that's guarding. See, this rook pins the knight, the king, so that when we take here, first you have to take to remove this. Otherwise, it's like you're down a whole piece at that point. So it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out if you don't do that. And that's kind of the setup that I was looking at. So it'd be, you take the bishop, the queen takes the bishop, the queen takes the knight. If you castle kingside, you go queen d5 check, queen has to take, and then knight takes, and you've basically picked up a entire piece at that point. And the knight's actually on pre-2 potentially going to be lost because there's no real points of exit at that point, because the knight guards here, the pawn guards there, so all we need to do is get a bishop there after all that line. So what do you guys think? I think it's bishop takes b7. That's my vote. That's the start, and then the chain happens. Well, you then can just move your, if he castles queenside, you just move your queen back. So instead of castles, okay, we could do this. Bishop takes c7, queen takes c7, queen takes d4, castle, actually I do 0, oops. So queen side, queen, I'm trying to think. I think we could play queen check if I'm not mistaken. Queen c3, I think. Queen c3 check. I think that might be, like, if we played here, he played here, we take, castle queenside, so we could check at that point. When the king moves, when the king oops, when the king moves, we slide our queen over to g3, and we should be able to pick up, even if he takes here, after that we can pick up the knight. I think we'd be okay. I think we'd be material. Hey, how you doing? Yep, exactly. Yeah, let's go with it. So far. We got to take, I believe, at this point. So if we play queen takes queen, rook takes, think we're forced at that point. I think we're forced to take. At that point, I believe it's queen takes f7 check. I believe that's got to be the move. Well, we don't have to. We could take the queen here, and then after rook takes, just retreat the knight back. So, like if queen takes f7, check, rook takes f7, and then knight to d3, and you should be fine as you should be right as rain at that point. That's what I'm kind of thinking, and it also guards this pawn here, and you still have the threat of bishop to g5. Yeah. There we go. Because then if rook takes, I believe that's right. Let's see what the computer says. It's between these two moves here, so let's see what the engine says. It likes that move. Interesting. What happens if you take? Okay, takes. Okay, so we're trying to, at this point, undermine the structure. Why does... Well, if you do just a 10-minute game, I'll play with you one more time, but just a 10-minute. So let me see. So that doesn't work. Oh, because undermining the pawn. Okay. So you have to be really aggressive here. Alright, we'll try it. Let's do 1-1. Okay, come on. Don't play. Alright. Let's get the bishop off the board. see, what did I should I have played? What did I miss here? Yes, exactly. Shoot, what did I miss something. Drat. Trying to can't believe I missed another one. I beat a 2000. Let me see here. What did I miss? Okay, I'm trying to see, because I need to play. Let me see, here. Okay. Try to see if I played there. Then you'll check. I guess I'm gonna have to play there. One second. Yeah, I'm probably lost here. Yeah, I'll resign. Let me see, because I made a mistake here. I gotta figure this out. Hold on, let me see here. This is, okay, he takes. Yeah, good game. We'll play again later. Let's see here. Oh, that's okay. So okay, so this is the move. Gotcha. Okay, so you protect that. Okay, then when he takes, you can actually take back and it's protected. Okay, with check, then you win the pawn. Okay, I gotcha. Well, that it sucks to lose, but you know what? As long as you're learning, that's the whole thing. I dislike losing. And you just go for a draw at this point. Okay. Well, I thank you guys for the win. Yeah, let me see. We'll just go through this real quick, this game, and then I gotta log off. I thank you for the game. That was a good game. You know what? We learned from it. I need to go back to the drawing boards on a little bit more of my studies and come back stronger. Maybe tomorrow we'll play, okay? We'll play tomorrow, right? Okay. Come on, why is the engine taking so long? Because I just want to go over this real quick. Oh, I should have castled. Okay, castled that. Alright, remember, you gotta sometimes in these positions get your king safe. Okay. That's a spot I need to work on now. Okay. So takes. So yeah, so I did that right. That was right. Okay, I needed to take with the pawn. And that would keep the position pinned down. And then I grab another one. Okay, I see. I see. Then you castle queenside, and the knight's under fire. Okay, that was a good game. Thank you. Thank you all for logging on. You know what? You have to learn. The hardest thing to do is learn. I'll come back. I'll play with you later. Okay? We'll do another one, and I'll be studied up this time. I studied, but for some reason it just didn't click. But we'll get there. That's the human part of it. And the one thing you have to do is get over basically your pride and study the games like we go through and find all the moves that should be played and then use that next time in your game. It's not fun to lose, but it's the worst thing that could happen is you constantly keep losing. But if you learn, you can win. So remember, learning equals winning. And so you know what? Like Bruce Lee, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. So we have to be willing. We have to know that it's okay to go over our games even if we lose. It's not fun to do that, but we will be able to apply it later, like Bruce Lee said, knowing and applying. We have to be willing and have the due diligence to keep doing. That's why he also has willing and doing in there. And remember, your rating is not what makes you. It's the gift the Lord's given you, which is using your mind. So keep that in mind when you feel down, you feel like you're under tons and tons of pressure. Use the mind the Lord's given you, and you can't go wrong. Win, lose, or draw, you can always learn something. Okay, well guys, with that, I'll leave you with this. As Wesley So says, serve the Lord Jesus, and as I say, God bless. And I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening. And Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll go over some more studies, do some more puzzles, and do some more casual games and learn from them and get better. That's the whole point. Great job, guys. Keep up the good work. Keep studying. Remember, rating doesn't make you. Learning. Keep learning. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. Be blessed.